female fitness trainers. Today, I'm really excited to speak to Claire Hughes. Claire did her level 2, level 3 with Faster and did her motor skill application specialist course with me after that as well. So that was the fun part where I got to meet you, and your energy came across straight away. And I think at that time you were just starting to teach classes and do personal training with your Faster Hub mat. And you've certainly been smashing the core momentum trainer around. So could you just
literally
let people know a little bit about where you are, your journey getting into the fitness industry and what you're doing?
Okay, so I guess I always had an interest in fitness. I was one of those people that had been in and out of the gym since I was like late teens, early 20s, with a husband who was a personal trainer and now a sports teacher. So evidently I wanted to be him when I grew up, which is weird. But I was originally a editorial designer working for magazines, and then started teaching group exercise as a bit of a sideline. That rolled for quite a few years until I decided that with the decline of magazines, it was time to actually do something that I thought about for a long time and to step into personal training. One thing that I had very much learned, I would say, through teaching Group X is that when you teach group exercise and when you're in front of a class, you have to let a side of yourself out that you probably would think was, I would watch Joe's face as I say this, a side of yourself that maybe you would have previously kept hidden, that you would have kept under wraps, because it feels like this kind of, it's probably Joe's TikTok persona, that you think if you let it out in public, into your friends, in day to day, that they're going to find you a bit much, that it's the you that comes out kind of couple of drinks in after a night out. And when suddenly you're put in a class environment and you think of something to say and you think, I can't say that, I'm going to sound like a bit of a dick. And you have to say it. And once you get over that and get over yourself and start saying that, you find that people warm to a part of your personality that you've spent the rest of forever trying to squash down and keep quiet. So that I think that being in that situation empowered me to then put myself into a position where I wanted to pursue personal training and bring that side of me into being a personal trainer, which doing the training with Faster, particularly moving on from level 3 and doing motor skills and various other things, although I've been very flaky with which courses I have actually managed to turn up for. Although I think I might have done motor skills at least twice. I might have maybe the third time too, I don't know. But Faster has definitely been a window to being the kind of trainer that I feel I intuitively am. So I've ended up in a place where I am no longer teaching the type of Group X classes that I was. I now teach a class using a core momentum trainer. I have, well, so PT clients that I've just moved into a different location because I needed a bit of a change of energy for myself. And I'm trying to bring back my small group hub classes, which were a really nice way to get people moving, really, without them being insecure or overthinking what they were doing. So it's daunting that the other end is silence. I just feel like I've just got to fill this silence now.
No, it
was silence from Joe.
I had someone try and call me then, and that tried to kick off on the computer. I was like, in between. But what you said there was lovely and fascinating when you talked about the persona that you let out in group exercise. And I'm a big believer that anybody who's doing fitness, whether it's personal training, an experience of doing group exercise is such a good thing. Learning about yourself in that very way. And I didn't expect to share something myself on here, but it was so profound what you triggered just then. And that was when I first started with Faster, meeting John. He was the first person that I think I'd ever met that allowed the person that I tried to hide, the Joanne that I was like, she is definitely a bit too much for most people.
Yeah.
Unless we're in the pub, whereas he allowed me to embrace everything about that, and not to be uncaring in any way at all, and I just thought it was beautiful that you said that about group exercise, because having those tools to acknowledge who you are and how you make people feel within that room, and actually you do learn to know, oh, they responded differently, I'll tone that down or up.
Yeah, exactly. Which room you walk, although I do think with the development of as a PT, your client base does felt very strongly that it becomes a reflection of the energy that you give out. So you end up with loads of people that are just, with anything, they're going to come to you because the whole experience is good. But there could be somebody with a different personality offering the same experience, and then it's not the same for them. And maybe, it's nice to meet clients first, and I say that so that they can check that they don't find me irritating. Give them the opportunity. It's not that I'm vetting them, it's just their opportunity to go, oh my God, this woman's irritating. Which I really hope they don't, because I would be absolutely devastated. But at least you can play it that way.
But I think actually that's a really good point, because as a personal trainer, you do hear a lot of personal trainers, setting up that first call, to say, oh, see if you like me. And it's like, actually, it is a two-way thing.
Yeah, but you don't need to, I don't need to tell them that.
No,
exactly.
Between us, yes. But I had remember covering a class and someone just saying to me, you're just too happy. And I was like, well, I'm just going to be too happy for the other 29 people that are loving it. And you might need to find someone else.
Yeah.
But within the faster process and what we do on motor skill application specialist, and again, this isn't at all what we talked about before, but it just seems like a really good place to talk about it. One of the hardest things I find for trainers is when we get to delivering our program. We've got the confidence in knowing what exercise, how we want someone to feel because of the energy systems or the biomechanics. But when we get to deliver that experience as a coach, we get to move the person in front of us, and we are responsible for managing their experience. And what I love about the energy that you bring, when you know that you've had to learn how to control it, you do know how to turn it down, but you equally know how to turn it up. And what you learn in group exercise is where you think there is a volume, you can whack it way over. And it's brilliant seeing people take that dynamic into their sessions. When we've played the games where we've coached and we've changed those levels.
It's ridiculous. I'm so uncomfortable in any kind of role play situation as well. I don't understand why. It's like, oh God.
I think we have video footage of you playing the squat game and taking the challenge to the full level.
I mean, once you're in, right? It's just a bit leading up to it that's awful. Overthink it.
Exactly. So as well, you said that you've got these changes with your business. You're doing group exercise and you're doing the personal training. You're using the hub mat as well, which is a great little niche to what you're doing. And you're still a mum.
Yeah.
And you've got they were young kids, so they're a little bit older now.
No, so they're now, Libby is nearly 13, Max is 14, with size 10 feet. Yeah, and new challenges.
How's that impacted? Because we spoke earlier that when you first started, you were teaching most evenings, and then that became more challenging. And that's something that a lot of parents might not think about, that actually when our kids get older, the challenges change.
Yeah, I think it's, you go into, particularly, as a mum, and for those of us that had the opportunity to kind of navigate a slightly different direction career-wise to find something to work around a family, is that I started teaching classes because I could teach in the morning. I taught morning classes when I had dropped Libby at preschool and Max at school. and then was available in the daytime to pick them up, her at lunchtime, him at 3 o'clock, to do dinner, to do baths, it sounds so exhausting when you say it out loud. And then get people to bed, tag my husband in, and go and work. I think it was 2-3 evenings a week, but quite full on, and a Saturday morning when he was around with the kids. And it's, you'd be doing that for years and years, and steadily I kept one class, but then I was PTing another night, and it all became, in the last year, with kids finishing, Max has a lot of dancing and commitments in the evening that I was struggling with the logistics of, trying to go out and work in the evening, having left kind of a dinner that you've pre-prepared in the afternoon, because obviously you are Superwoman and you must make sure everybody has a home cooked meal. And it has just got to the point where it was so exhausting. I kind of wasn't really aware why, other than that I was finding it harder. I wasn't really delivering on it, which I think, has been a bit of a process of, well, I'm older and my hormones are all over the show, so it's normally me that's falling apart. It's I'm the place to blame. There's a child sneaking through. Don't go out the back door. He's going out the back door. He's going out the back door. Oh no. Okay. Bye bye. I'm on a. I said I was going to do a call with you. Max said, "Don't be too much and don't be too loud." Says the performing child.
Be too much.
There's the performing child. Said what? Don't be annoying. Don't be. I can't get that out. Max, you're going to have to tie it back on the thing. Sorry, Joe.
That's okay.
I can't remember what I was saying. Yeah, so I was, it's that thing of, well, it must be me. It must be me that's at fault as to why this isn't working. I'm not going to get that out. You're going to have to tie around that thing. You can't take the tube off. I won't get it. I'm never going to get that back on. Oh my God.
I know that everyone watching this and listening will be going, oh, that's my life. It could be totally understanding everything.
Just taken the whole thing off the dog lead to stop the dog chewing through a lead. And now the dog will eat the lead. I don't know how I'll get that on. But anyway, always back. So it's those things where you kind of, you tend to look inwardly for why there's a problem, how you're going to be able to, what it is that has created this. And I got to the point where I realized that actually when I started and I created that business around our life at the time, that we weren't in that place anymore, that the children weren't tiny little children that went to bed or tried to go to bed at 7 o'clock, that actually as teenagers or nearly teenagers, they needed me home in the evening. And that wasn't where I had time in the day anymore, that I needed to be around for them at night, and actually just needed to shift my business focus to the daytime, which is quite hard because people want classes in the evening and people want PT in the evening. But sometimes your own boundaries need to kind of come in first. And whilst it's hard to change that and say no and potentially lose clients that you've had, I lost a couple of clients I had for 2-3 years, but at the end of the day, you've got to make the decision to choose what's right for your life around that.
And then, within a few weeks, or you'll find somebody else that will recommend you, and that will change. And you never know, then their lives may change. I've had that in the past where things haven't worked for whatever reason. They've gone their way. We've always kept in contact. The door's always been open, and they've come back. They've said, oh, things have changed now for them. Their kids have grown. And also all our clients, they come with different kind of hurdles, and it looks like you've been navigating some of those hurdles. And I know a while back we talked about some of the hurdles that women are navigating, and at the moment it's menopausal month. Hey, can all get excited about that. And I know that for you that has been a different journey, and this is quite an important month for you. And I don't know if there's any of that you want to share with people from your perspective that may be useful.
Yes. So find the starting point, because weirdly everything links in. So if you start at a point of it being Menopause Awareness Month, so that's the first tick on the October Awareness Month bingo board for me. So I guess I am still perimenopausal. Somebody said to me yesterday they'd gone through it and they felt calmer than they ever had. Damn it, let me get to that bit. But so for me, I think I've spent longer than I would care to realize in a perimenopausal, can't even say it, which is about right, state. But I will say this time around, it has snuck up on me in much more of a mental health capacity with kind of stress and anxiety. So perhaps that sneaks up on you more steadily, which is something that you tend to think is, you're looking inwardly for why you feel like that, why you can't operate at a level that you used to, why you're finding things much more stressful, why you can't keep your temper. So that's how I found it in recent years. Whereas the first time I had menopause was when I was 23, because I had breast cancer again for the first time. So there's my second October awareness bingo tick. So when I was 23, or actually was diagnosed when I was 22, I had breast cancer then. I can't even remember my particular diagnosis because it was so long ago. So that's 2001. So we're looking at 23 years now. I was diagnosed in October. And at that point, so I had it was very quick, because apparently when you're that young, it's very aggressive. So very quickly from finding a lump, which was actually quite up high here when I was showering. It wasn't actually in my boob. I don't know. It's not very good at being serious. Let's just say it a few times so it's less weird, Jo. Okay, but was higher up. So I found a lump, took it to the doctors. The doctors said, oh, it won't be anything. You're far too young. And then it was something. So that very quickly escalated into a first operation, a diagnosis, then a mastectomy on one side before starting any surgery. I got away without any radiotherapy. And they gave me a drug called Zoladex. So I had Zoladex first, which apparently is Kylie Minogue also had it. So, although she had it after me, I started the trend, which basically switches off your reproductive system. It's much more. I had Zoladex and then I had tamoxifen later, which is a hormone therapy drug. But the Zoladex basically just shuts everything down so the chemo doesn't attack fast reproducing cells, as in your reproductive system. So it was very swift. They said they didn't have any time to freeze any eggs. To be fair, I was 22, 23, didn't much like my boyfriend at the time, wasn't sure I wanted to have any children. So it's like better choice just not to die, really. But that was from a menopausal point of view, scratch all the kind of cancer nightmare. That time in a very swiftly medically induced menopause was very physical. And that was hideous hot flushes, night sweats, awake in the night. Awake in the night in 2001 was bleak as well, because there really wasn't anything on the telly other than Countdown. And I'm crap at that. So at that point it was a very physical menopause. So when I have had symptoms coming back, I don't know how anyone else's take on it, but what I remember from that point is that when I had a hot flush, I would be standing somewhere and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm really thirsty. Why am I so thirsty? Desperately thirsty. And then I would think, oh my God, and I'm really tired. Why am I so tired and thirsty? This is weird. And then would go like wave of heat, lightheaded, and would go, oh, okay. So I think I've had a couple of moments like that where I've gone, oh, I recognize this. But that was very much how menopause was first time around. Whether that was because it was 20 odd years ago and there was no mental health support, there was no counselling offered, there was no, we weren't doing social media to the extent that we are now. So there was nobody saying it's okay to feel like this. I was in a very fortunate position from work where I had a long time off on full pay. So I just had a nice time partying and shopping when I wasn't having chemo drugs and feeling like, well, literally death warmed up. But there was no mental health support offered. So I don't know if I had that the first time round. I don't know if that was just not recognized, not squashed down. But then I was 23 and didn't have any responsibilities beyond, I'd moved back in with my parents beyond the basics of getting myself sorted. I didn't have any kids that were depending on me. There was nothing. So maybe it's just that the pressure of everything was easier. So I didn't feel that then. Whereas 20 odd years later, it's a different package. But yeah, so saying which, I have had it again because at 23 they stop the drugs and you ping back out of that because you're obviously so full of hormones the rest of the time. Would have been quite different had I have undergone that treatment later on.
Yeah.
Not so bouncy, literally.
I think as well, I mean, it's great that we're there's a lot more talk about climacteric period, that whole moment that our hormones start to change, from whether it's 45 and then going through that 12 months of non-periods, and that sort of thing, and it's finalizing it with a date. It's so much more than a date, and it's so much more than perimenopause, menopause, post-menopause. All those things continue to happen, but for you, that must have been really challenging first time round as well, because that isn't talked about as much. And in America they're quite specific that if you're going through a medical menopause, that's when you can get given HRT, because it's a medical solution to try and influence the symptoms. Whereas I know it's going to go for my brain, but they changed the name of it's exactly the same thing, but they changed the name through climacteric period because that's not a medical condition. That's something that, we're all grateful that we get there, but that doesn't mean that the experience we're going to have is not going to be a slap in the face in many different directions. So yeah, you certainly had a lot going on there. And have you been able to, I guess, do you feel like that's helped you with your clients that are now experiencing it for the first time?
Child sneaking back through. He's gone again. He just did one of those comedy kind of British, like, oh, we shouldn't be here runs. Yeah, I think it's because I've got a couple of different experiences of it.
Yeah.
And I'm aware that whilst even for me, I've had two different menopausal experiences and they've been very different from each other. So then knowing that the way that I have experienced something myself at different times is different, then every person's experience of is different. But it's also meant that from 20, 22, it was a word that was in my vocabulary. It was something that I was aware of. And it was also something that they'd said in treatment, because you've had all these hormone therapy drugs at this stage, it might mean that you have an earlier menopause anyway. Yeah. So I was sort of it was in the back of my mind that that was probably how it would happen. So I wasn't. I mean, I think for everybody, it takes you longer to realize than maybe it should have done, because we haven't been aware of the myriad of different ways that it can affect us. But I was aware a lot sooner that that's probably what it was, and more accepting of that, rather than people that say, well, I'm not even not remotely old enough. It's for old ladies, which, I think if we could all skip to the stage when we're happily rolling around as old ladies with bobble hats on, eating cake every day, that'd be lovely. Let's just skip to that bit without the kind of stress in the meantime. But I was quite aware that it wasn't something for old ladies any more than breast cancer is something that only happens when you're over a certain age. So I'd already been in a situation of somebody saying, oh, well, you can't possibly have that, you're much too young. And then I did. So yeah, so it does, it feels like more of an open topic with clients, and that I can see that they would have a different experience of something than I would. Although, yeah, I mean, it's that thing, isn't it? It's that there is no one way to get through it. It's just you do what you need to keep yourself sane and happy as best you can.
And that's quite tough as well from, you know, from our perspective as putting our trainer hats on as well. Because as you said, everybody will experience it in so many different ways. And as you know, with the land of social media, oh, we do love it. You know, there are lots of claims. There are lots of menopause experts, people that call themselves meno this, meno that, and really cashing in.
Yeah, it makes me annoyed. I've done this twice, man, and I'd like, why am I not profiting from it? You can't be like way younger saying, oh, I know all about menopause. I've done it twice. I'll just certify myself and start selling a course.
Well, I mean,
what product? Quick, Joe.
Exactly. Well, you can make up something and then you just call it the Claire method. You know, that's what
I don't even want to know what that would
be. The Hughes method.
Just well, I think it would be fun. I don't know what it would be.
I mean, for me, what I do like is that when we can let go of, most trainers are lovely people. We get into this industry not because we go, oh yeah, I know, I'm going to make an absolute packet, you know, name myself after a guru and rake it in on social media. Not many people do that. We do it because we love it. We're passionate. But sometimes with that, we can slip down the net where we do start to think that we can maybe save somebody or rescue them. And actually, I think what I love about Faster is it's really helped me to see that if we remain the person that is there for the client to give them an amazing movement experience, we don't have to be the person who's the endocrinologist. We don't have to be, you know, the cancer nurse, doctor. And we then can hold space for somebody that might actually, more than anything, just be desperate for like 45 minutes where they're not a cancer patient, they're not going through menopause, perimenopause.
I tell you what, when you are a cancer patient, I found, I mean, this is just me, and I do get through things mostly with a sort of sense of gallows humor, but it's the like, how are you, with that sympathetic head tilt that you just get all the time, and just to be surrounded by people who are treating you like a normal person, exactly like you said, just not to be that, to be, as my kids would say, oh my God, is that your whole personality now? Like, you don't want to be defined by being the menopausal woman or the cancer patient or the, you know, and it is historically why I was quite careful about bringing up my history with breast cancer, because just throwing, I've had it again. I've also had it, so I've had it twice. I've had menopause twice, breast cancer twice. I'm really competitive. I just like to win. And because whenever you say, you know, that you can't, it's not something you can just throw into conversation, because sometimes it's anecdotal, or it's relevant to the story you're telling, and it's so hard to say it without it becoming your whole personality. Glad Max is in the room. He'd be really embarrassed of me now. But and oh my God, see, I've forgotten what the point of this was, Joe. Where were we going with this point?
We were going with create, and you know, at the same time, my dog has just let off the most stinky. I was like, you know,
isn't flatulence on that list of menopausal side effects, Joe?
Yeah, it's not me on this occasion. And the wiry hair is not mine. No, we were going into the fact that well, what's great about what we do is we don't have to create that, oh, we're going to fix you, do you know, like that, well, you know me, when we're going on posture and all of those sorts of things, we get to create a space where people get to explore how amazing their bodies are. You know, I just before we got onto this, I saw one of those marvelous posts about how the foot's overrated and we should do all these things, and I just wanted to put, what about my client's got no feet? I mean, if it's that important, like, she's screwed. So it's like, you know, there are loads of things that we can do. And, you know, one of the things I love is that we get to create like an artist with this canvas of, right, what can you do? Let's see how you can spread it around.
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, it's a complete subject jump now, is that, you know, coming from a place where I was previously a designer and I've always been quite creative, that side of training people, that it is that you're there and you're able to be empathetic to those people. It's about creating experience particular to them, their needs, their personality, but you're also getting to be creative with their exercise and their experience to give them a more positive experience of exercise. But it all feeds into, you know, why most of us are here, and why most of us are in this environment, and we're not sitting at desks doing admin tasks, because our brains just need to jump around. And to have that ability as well, to, if a client comes in and say your client base is heavily geared of just women of a certain age who one day will come in and feel strong and amazing and accomplished, and other days will feel like a pile of poo. And you need to be able to step away from the session that you had planned on paper, whatever, and what it is that they need in that 45 minutes or an hour to feel better about themselves. And what I do think is that if there was a Claire method, it would be the fact that when I do a just laugh at do now. When I do, I just can't not.
That's an improv.
That's terrible. Yeah, let's not. I'll slip into a hole. Oh, don't let John listen. And it's that time before a class where I have a room full of people, and that class could just as easily become a coffee morning than an exercise class, because a group of mostly women, one or two guys that turn up occasionally, but mostly women come in, all really just click with each other. There's a lot of empathy and a lot of care for each other in that room. People are all there for each other. Yes, eventually the talking stops and we get on to our core momentum trainer class, after which obviously they feel amazing. But it's that building that camaraderie, that kind of environment of support where you don't have to fix everything for everybody, but sometimes just taking a second to listen to them and being able to, either from yourself or from other people, can just signpost them towards things so that they can go out and discover kind of help for themselves and know that they're not the only one kind of suffering through whatever it is, really.
Absolutely. The connection that you're building there with, you know, with your community is massive, because like you said, if you've spread humor, you know, if you can have that space where someone can have a cry if that's what they need, and then you move together, I think that's so important. But it's not about, like you said, it's not about fixing someone. They're not broken. It's about holding space and being there. And I love the way you said, and at the end they feel great, because as we know with motor skill, we go through that story process, and sometimes if people do come in and they're holding that, that's why I like that, right, let's get a slam bag out then, you know, and
yeah,
let's
exactly
take that emotion, let's go with it, and then when it starts to change, you can start to manage that experience.
Yeah, just move away from everything that you were going to do and throw a vipe around or for a bit.
Yeah,
just that if you're angry, let's just dig into that and get rid of it, rather than pretending it's not there.
Absolutely. I could talk to you for hours, and I could also watch your nails for hours. Your nails have just been going.
The new gym I've started working at is a gym called Fire. And who knew that it had snuck into my subconscious so much that I got like fiery color nails.
Wow.
And then and Joe, so it's you, Joe, and the gym is called, so it's Faster. The gym is called Fire. The guy that runs it is called Joe. The dance school that I work at is another F, is called Forte. Also, I've been teaching a class for the strength class for the dancers as well.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. But the dance school is called Forte. It's also run by somebody called Joe. So if some of you could change your name, it would be helpful in distinguishing between Joes and different companies that begin with F, please. It's getting confusing.
That's amazing. So, and are you going to join us on the next Motor Skill? Because you get to come back as many times as you like.
When is it? Well, yes, I would like to. When is it? I said I'm fairly flaky and forget when things are.
Well, we're going to be getting back to calls in November. So yes, it'll be starting back up in November.
Yes, we'd and I will see you
and share some of your.
And I will see you in real life first. I will see you at the convention.
Yes, Faster Convention 3 that's live in Nottingham on the 2nd and 3rd. Yes, I can't wait. So we've got lots of different presentations. I think there's over 12, 13 different talks. And then Saturday night we get to hang out as well. So that'll be fun too.
I know, it's people that I've only ever met in tiny boxes is as actual real life human-sized people. Exciting.
I was very surprised when I met Peter. He's got really long legs.
I was like, I'll look forward to Peter's legs.
It was like he crawled out of the Zoom box and it was like, just daddy long legs just got up and I was like, these legs just keep coming.
I'm so disappointed that no one's going to say that about me.
Oh, thank you so much for coming, and we'd love to get you back on and talking to us, and I'm glad things are going well for you now, so thank you very much.
Just too much to say always, Joe, sorry.
I've loved it.
Right, thank you.